Hey everyone, welcome back. Now you're going to have to forgive my terrible Australian accent on this, but waifu, awful at pronouncing it, I know. What is going on with those cards? Today, what we're going to have a look at, and I want to make one thing pretty clear. I understand 100% how people can collect these cards. I've got a few, but not really my cup of tea. But I can understand how people go bonkers on them. They are nice looking cards. But what has caused, or what is causing, the drastic rise up that we've seen in the last 6 to 9 months? And working with that, are there some new later, I suppose, Sword and Shield sets, or even new Scarlet and Violet sets, where some of those cards we could invest in to jump on the bandwagon and help, I guess, move north? Before we do that, I've got a question for everyone, and please leave your comment below. Seeming we're talking about sort of single cards today, what is your favourite pull of all time? So and it can be any TCG, doesn't need to be Pokemon, could be Magic the Gathering, could be Yu-Gi-Oh, could be Dragon Ball Z. I just thought I'd share mine with everyone. I pulled this one back in 2012. So it's 2002 score. Give me a thumbs up if anyone ever collected Score DBZ. Favorite character from the anime, of course, Vegeta. It's limited edition, Vegeta the Revitalized. Actually ended up pulling 2 of these, bought back when they were cheap, 4 cases of limited edition Cell Saga, which is obviously where you could pull the ultra rare. The odds of getting an ultra rare, just so everyone knows, or even if they care, was 1 in a case, or 1 per case. There was 4 ultra rares, so the odds were sort of 1 per 4 cases, or 1 per 24 booster boxes to pull the Vegeta Revitalized. Super, super rare card. Favorite pull I've ever had. Please leave your comments below. What was your favorite pull from any TCG? I'd love to hear them. Anyway, waifu cards.
Snowy, use hail!
Let's attack before they strengthen their defense! Umbreon! Dark Pulse!
Snowy, dodge it!
The big question though, why? Why this drastic move north? I mean, it's sort of happened all of a sudden. I mean, Lily, from obviously the clip we just shown from the Ultra Prism set during the Sun and Moon era, was always pretty expensive. And there's also been some fairly playable trainer cards, which you'd understand why they've always been expensive, because they're playable and usable in decks. But why this sudden rise? I've got a few takes on it, and again, share your comments down below if you've got some different thoughts or somewhat tend to agree with me. I don't have every answer, but I've got some thoughts. So there's this funny sort of phenomenon that I think happens in a lot of TCGs, and particularly Pokemon though, is, and I don't know how to best describe it other than maybe a feedback loop. And how this feedback loop seems to work is something gets popular, and then it gets expensive, and then it gets more popular because people have seen it rise, and then it gets more expensive because it gets more popular, and it just creates this feedback loop which seems to like almost, and I don't like to use the word artificially, but it almost does. It almost artificially rises the price of a card. And I suppose once the market sees a card sitting at this position, it's really hard to bring it back. Reprints will bring things back, but once the market gets a card to a position, it's actually quite hard to pull it back. So I think that's one reason. There's almost like this artificial feedback loop in those waifu, again, forgive my bad Australian accent cards. The other one is, of course, there's a fan base for them. Like, people like them, and I don't blame them. Personally, I don't collect heaps of them. I've got a few, like I said, but it's not really my jam or cup of tea, but I can certainly see why people do collect them. The other thing I think, particularly with Japanese versions, is there's probably a bit more limited supply. And I guess a fourth reason may be that whole sort of pop culture or idolization of those sort of characters from the anime. It's a bit weird to me, but could well be a reason why, another reason why those cards have gone north. But for me, I really think it's that first point that I was sort of slamming home, is this artificial feedback loop where they just rise. And you could argue it's happened with some alt arts as well. You could argue it's happened with Umbreon. Like, look at the number of PSA 10 copies of Umbreon. Anyone should say that card shouldn't be worth that much money, but it's had this popularization, which leads to price increase, which leads to more popularization because people don't want to miss the bandwagon. It's just this feedback loop that drives price north, and then once it gets to a position, it's really hard for it to fall off that ledge. And that's what I think's happened to a lot of cards, which leads me on to, let's look at some examples. So I'm just going to pick two older ones, and they're both from Ultra Prism. Love the set, great set, obviously heavily based off full art trainers, and the big one being that Lily. But if we look over the last 12 months here, you'll see that Lily, even 12 months ago, was sitting at $240 US, and now it's up to what, a touch over $400 US, I think. So in the last 12 months, that card has 2x'd its money. It's gone up pretty drastically. Rightly, like, it's obviously the most popular full art trainer from the whole Sun and Moon era. Rightly so. It's a beautiful looking card, popular character from the anime. Second one I just wanted to look at, same again from Ultra Prism, is the Cynthia. So we're sitting at about $86, I believe, 12 months ago, and now sitting around $143. So also close, maybe a 70-75% increase in price over the last 12 months. So that then leads me on to some newer examples, or what we can learn from the older examples. So we've seen some older examples climb in price pretty drastically. And other than really maybe the Miriam and Scarlet and Violet, there's not too many Sword and Shield full art trainers that have reached the level of things like Lily and Cynthia, or even the Miriam from Scarlet and Violet base. So is there some opportunities there for us? I think so. And I wanted to talk just through four, one of which I think's climbed already a little bit, and some others that I think, just as examples, you might see a little bit of a rise and you could park some money in as a bit of an investment. So the first one I wanted to look at is Clara from Chilling Reign. This one has also, like, it's interesting. You can see some of the earlier Sword and Shield sets starting to jump on that same bandwagon and same trend line on the pricing index here as what some of the Sun and Moon sets won. So $25 12 months ago, now $35. So close to a 50% increase in price over the last 12 months. This, and I probably harp on a little bit too much about Chilling Reign, but as well as having some beautiful alt art cards, it also has the opportunity for some of these full art trainers to jump up in price. I just think it's such an undervalued set. But anyway, the next one I wanted to show you is Serena from Silver Tempest. Was sitting at $24 12 months ago, now moved up to about $38. So same thing, about a 50% increase in price over the last 12 months. Nice looking card. A couple of cheaper ones. I just wanted to show you the Nessa here. It has gone down. At launch, it was sitting close to $20, and now it's at about $9. I really like the artwork on this card. I think this might be one with a little bit of room for growth. And the last one here, I wanted to show you from Astral Radiance is Roxanne. Again, at launch, came out hot, came out swinging at about $18, and now down to a touch under $11 at $10.90. So I suppose, what can we learn? And can we make money off these sort of Sword and Shield waifu full art trainer cards? I think the short answer is yes. Some of these cards, mark my word, will get caught in that spiral feedback loop that I was talking about. They're almost, I shouldn't use the word too cheap, because they're not too cheap. Like, the market dictates the price. But if you compare it to some of the Sun and Moon full art trainers, and these are, I know they're a bit more common, like printed a bit more, but these are every bit as nice. And if you look at the PSA pop reports, there's some that aren't actually too high. And there'll be people that start jumping on the bandwagon of getting these graded and trying to get some sort of return on them. I think, just an opinion, and please leave your comments below, I think some of these Sword and Shield full art trainers are going to start getting stuck into that loop in the next maybe 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, even next couple of years. And I think we should see a fairly drastic rise, or could see a fairly drastic rise in some of them. Now, the other side of the coin when you relate it to sealed products is, look at Ultra Prism. I mean, what's your best pull in that set? God, this is thinking, what, a gold Sun, what's his name? Sungala or whatever it's called. Is that the best Pokemon you can pull from that set? I think so. But it's so heavily based off full art trainers that the sealed price, the ETBs were printed, actually one of the heavier printed ETBs from Sun and Moon era, but the booster box, the booster box has commanded a pretty high price for quite some period of time. And it's all based off the popularity of those full art trainers. So if you look at some of the Sword and Shield sets that are heavily or more heavily skewed towards some nice full art trainers, and again, I know I keep harping on about it, but look back at Chilling Reign. What's that? Got 3 or 4 nice full art trainers, all sitting at a reasonable price. Like they're all sort of north of $20 and up to maybe $40 from memory. So that thing there could, or that position there could move north, and therefore, as well as the alt arts, pull up the sealed price. So in terms of investing, I suppose what I'm trying to get at to summarize is there's some cards sitting in, or chilling, excuse the pun, chilling in Sword and Shield sets that could move fairly north in the next 12 to 24 months. Which ones? It's hard to know because things can get caught up in that popularity feedback loop that I was talking about. So I would maybe diversify. And hey, like, again, not really for me, but they are great to have in your collection. Having a binder full of full arts, a couple of copies of them, it's a great little section to have in your collection binder. And I suppose the final point I wanted to make is also with the sealed. Like I was saying, if one of those or a few of those start to pop off and start becoming $500 PSA 10 copies, Australian I'm talking about, or even $350 Australian PSA 10 copies, it's going to start dragging the price of those sealed sets up like something like Chilling Reign. So please leave your comments below. Love to hear from you. Also, please let me know about your favourite card. What was the favourite card from any TCG that you've pulled over the years? Thumbs up if you're a big fan of the Vegeta card. Cool. Let me know. Thanks, guys. Ta.